Hi guys, today we're going to be working on watercolor sunflowers. We're going to do a very loose technique that creates a nice composition with not a lot of stress. Let's get started. So today we are going to be painting using watercolor paper. You just want to make sure it's pretty thick, because if you use too thin a paper, it kind of starts to warp, and we don't want warping if possible. I have a compact set of watercolors. You can use watercolors from a tube. You can use a set like I have here. You can use some people have used food coloring if they're just practicing, and you can also use very watered down acrylic paint. You might not get an as transparent effect, but in a pinch it can work. I also have a cup of water, paper towel, and I have two brushes. I have this 12-inch round that has a pretty nice tip. And then I have a liner brush that is for smaller detail. So that is what we'll need, and let's get started. Alright, because we are not doing the wet on wet technique, we don't have to tape this paper down. We're going to use a little bit of water on our larger brush. And again, you want to use a brush that has soft bristles, a round brush that has a point. It gives you just more freedom. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start out with some brown. And the thing with watercolors is it's always better to try to mix it on a non-porous surface first to make sure you got your color the way you want it. You definitely don't want to start with the wrong colors. So I have this brown, it's like a reddish brown, it's called burnt sienna, and I'm going to try to attempt to cool it off with, I believe, a little bit of black, maybe a little bit of a purple that's too dark. So I'm going to come back in, and I'm just going to keep mixing until I got a color I like. And you can always use a test piece of paper to see if the color is right for you. I think that's pretty alright. It's a nice medium brown. So I'm going to go ahead, and today we're going to be doing 3 sunflowers. I'm going to start somewhere close to the middle. And I'm just going to have a rough sketch of a circle. Use your wrist to get an approximate. And then I'm going to do one over here. I'm going to do kind of an oval because I'm going to have it pointing sideways a little bit just to create interest. And I'll do another circle. So these are our starting points. We're just going to break everything down to shapes, and as you can see, I just messed up my circle. So I'll just make it a little bigger. This is going to be my bigger sunflower. And the other thing to note when watercolor painting is that the color will always dry lighter than when you apply it wet. So these colors are going to take a little while to dry, and while I'm waiting for those to dry, I'm going to start getting my yellows. I have 2 yellows here. I have a warm yellow and I have a cool yellow. Cool yellow is a lot lighter. The warm yellow has some tinges of red, so I'm going to grab some water, a lot of water, and mix a good amount of yellow. Just pretty much straight yellow. There's a little bit of like a green tone from a previous paint I have in this pan, so hopefully it doesn't pick up too much. And the thing, if you have a brush like this, it's rounded at the bottom and it has a nice tip at the end, is what you can do is you can press heavy and then light, and you can get a really simple petal. All you're doing is you're choosing to press lightly down, then thick towards the middle, and then you kind of lift it up mid. So you just kind of go all the way around, and we're going to do this for all the petals. And again, if it's not perfect, that's okay. We're going to add to it. And when you come to this little one right here, the petals are going to look fine or normal on the side that it's pointing towards, longer. But the ones that are closest to us, they're kind of foreshortened, so they're kind of just implied. And so it doesn't look like anything right now, but once it starts to curve, you start to see the shape of the flower. It's just a trick of the eye. Your eye is pretending like the petals are wrapping around. So I'm just going to keep going around, and I'll let this somewhat dry, not all the way, because I'm going to add some more colors to it. So I went ahead and I picked up a warm red. A warm red's way more vibrant than our cool red right here. Our cool red's almost like a maroon. So I grabbed some of that. I cleaned my brush, and I'm picking up a little bit more of our warm yellow, and I'm making this golden color. It's going to just be just different enough to add interest to our petals. And we're just going to be doing the same thing sporadically. You definitely don't need to do too much with this because you just want to add more interest. And at this point you get to choose which petals you want to emphasize. And we still do the light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure, light pressure, heavy pressure, light pressure. Just around, depending on where it is. And if it's farther away, make it a little smaller. If it's closer. And again, because this is an impression of sunflowers, you don't have to be super duper precise. You just want to give it a little bit more interest with a little bit more tone. So we have our lovely golden tone, and then we have our straight warm yellow tone. And you can go around as much as you want. You can have them as full as you want, or as loose as you want. Again, if there's any parts that are still wet, you can just tap some of the golden color and it will blend in, so you'll have another layer of color. Now, because I don't want to just leave just 3 main pieces, I kind of want to add some interest. I'm going to add just a couple dots to kind of like imply like a spray of maybe another kind of yellow flower. So I'm just adding a couple dots loosely, super loosely, just around. The next step, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create the leaves. And I think I'm going to go with a warm green. Make sure you have enough green because we're going to go over a lot of area with this green. And to create some unity, I'm going to come back in with some of this yellow that I have. The warm yellow, that is. I'm going to kind of swirl it and make it a little bit warmer, a little bit lighter. So it's almost like a neon or lime green. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing where I do light, press hard. Like, you know what, I want it to be a little bit darker than that. So we're going to come back. And because there's already water, you don't have to add too much. So you have some freedom. So you're going to make the shape of some leaves. Maybe I'm going to add some big ones. And the thing is, sunflowers have big leaves and they're not perfect. They're not uniform. They can be a little scraggly on the edges. So you have that freedom to add however many leaves. And again, I'm just kind of doing the thin at the ends, thick in the middle, kind of filling in the color. And then maybe I'll have a smaller leaf come in here. Maybe I'll have a leaf coming off the paper. You gotta pretend like it's exists off the paper. Make it a little bit bigger. We can even do some stems. Stems are a little tricky, but because this has a point, I usually start at the base and work down. And because we have like this bouquet, you're not going to see the whole stem. You're just kind of going from where just an implied of where that stem should be or would be. And then this one is kind of hard to do a stem at all, so I might just do another leaf and just be super careful not to touch my petal, because the petal that's right here is super wet. So it's just an implied space of a leaf. I just wanted some more green there. You can even add some of these spray flowers that I created. You can do little tiny branches. Just we're all coming back to the center. Just hopefully make sure that it's not going through any wet paint. Alright, so there is our main composition. In a second, we're going to come in with some more detail, and I'm going to use mostly my liner brush for that. So while we're waiting for the leaves to dry, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back into the sunflower middle. Some parts of my flower kind of bled into the nucleus on some of them, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this a little bit darker. And once I get these a touch darker, and I'm going to be super careful not to go around the petals, because I don't want the petals to pick up the brown. I'm going to create like a nucleus, so there's like a darker center in these sunflowers, because generally when you're looking at the sunflowers, they do have a slightly darker spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring in some purple or purplish blue as a alternate color. So I got a blue, and I'm adding a little bit of a cool red, and then I'm coming back with some more brown. And I think I need, and you just kind of have to play with how dark or how light these colors are. And I apologize because my video quality is not amazing today. I'm not able to do my painting in the lighting I would prefer. So now that I have a darker color, I'm going to do the wet on wet technique with the sunflowers, and I'm just going to put a couple dots in the middle. I'm just going to leave them alone. It'll spread and it'll dry, and again, this one on the end here I'm letting dry a lot more, so I'm being very careful because it's not dry and I don't want my petals to get that color. The next thing I'd like to do is I'm going to use my liner brush, and I'm going to take some of the cool green mix it with the green I already have. And I'm going to kind of give just a little bit of a line on my leaves to just give the impression that their leaves give that vein look. You don't want a lot. You just kind of, again, want to give the impression. You can, if you want it to be subtle, so I put the color on and then I add some more water and I'm just kind of pulling it. My leaves are semi-wet still, so they're still absorbing the color. So this gives us a very soft look. And you can do that with as many as you like. Totally up to you. And the great thing about watercolor is if you feel like you need to add something, you can always add. You just, for the most part, want to go darkest to light. So I'm going to add a little bit more black to my nucleus of my flower using my liner brush. And again, because it is still wet, it's going to just keep spreading it and it'll dry a little bit lighter. So here is a very simple way to create watercolor flowers. I hope you enjoyed it.